So I just finished watching the introduction of the new ChatGPT 4, and I gotta say I'm pretty impressed with the demo. I don't know how good the actual model is because I actually haven't tried it as yet. But what I will say is that I wanted to give my sort of my first take on just what I'm seeing and what it means from this model. And as they were going through the demo, there was a series of things that I want to try and apply and see if it actually works. And I'm actually going to do some of them in this video. But apparently some of the tools are not fully out. So the things that stood out to me, number one, is that this thing has the ability to take in a lot more text. I think they said 2,500 words or something like that. Like it could take in a lot more text, which is fantastic and impressive. That's number one. And then the second thing that stood out to me is that it's also sort of focused on images. So you can paste an image into it and it will describe the image. And while they were doing that, that got me thinking of how can I use that tool? Because, the demo that they showed is kind of gimmicky. I actually have some screenshots. I'll show that in a bit. But the demo is a bit, I'm going to say gimmicky. Like I've looked at AI tools before and you can, do and describe text. Mind you, this one does a really, really good job of describing the text in what I would consider fluent English. Like it's very clear and well written English. So I think it has the upper hand there. However, that's not really where my fascination is. So I got some specific problems that I'm interested in exploring with this tool. I'm actually going to do them live in this video because I just want to experiment with it and just give my raw 2 cents about it. One of them I don't think I can do, which has to do with the image, but I'll tell you my thought process around it just so I get it out there. And then as the tool evolve and as I get more access to the tool, then I'll actually I'm going to play around with it and tell you sort of my feedback. So let me switch to the computer and then I'll actually show you what some of the cool things that that stood out to me on the demo. So the things that actually stood out to me, and I took some screenshots as they were kind of going through the presentation. Number one is what he did was he asked the chat GPT to write some code. Whatever the code is, it doesn't really matter. It was basically supposed to connect it to a Discord group. So GPT wrote some code that was related to Discord, but it was old code from, let's say, pre 2021 or something like that. And apparently Discord has been updating their application and their APIs quite a bit. So the documentation, if you look right here in the middle, the documentation is up to date, and there's some extra stuff that actually is required. And what stood out to me was he actually just copied and pasted the entire documentation, dumped it into ChatGPT, and then asked a question, and then essentially got the model to figure out what the problem was based on pasting the documentation in. If that holds true, that is game changer for developers. And in fact, I'm gonna try it out live and see what happens, because that's unreal if that's the case, because it's literally learning from modern documentation and then evolving its answer, which is unbelievable. So here, what he actually did is pasted the model with his answer in, and then basically says, I'm receiving a blank content error. So highlighted the error, and why could this be? How can I fix it? Based on the documentation that you just randomly copy and paste, which was just all text. That's insane. So I'm pretty impressed about that. And then the other one that was kind of struck me a little bit, and I'll tell you how I think this could be applied, because this was sort of gimmicky, if I have to be honest. I've seen Microsoft Cognitive Services has handwritten, the ability to read handwriting, and they've recently added into their Power Apps tool, you could actually hand draw a design and they'll actually convert it to I think a Figma design, and then convert that into code so you could build an app. So I've seen this type of stuff before, but basically what he did is he sort of drew this design on a paper and then he asked to write a HTML JavaScript version of it. And then what happened is it basically spit out an HTML version of the design that he wrote on the paper, which is crazy. I mean, that's pretty cool by itself, right? So not necessarily the best JavaScript or any single thing, but impressive nonetheless. So this is the actual code. So he copied it and pasted into I think I forgot which website this is, but one of those websites that you could paste HTML and run it, and this is what it created, which is pretty impressive, you know, considering that he just drew that by hand and it actually came up with this on the fly. And then the last demo that he did is basically he asked the system to do some taxes, and in essence went to the government website and pasted the tax code, which is like, I think he said like 19 pages or something ridiculous. You know, the tax code, everybody knows, is just crazy. And then asked the question, like, what is their standard deduction for 2008 based on this question here. So that's pretty insane. Like, give a scenario about two people that were basically married and living in blah 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 and had an income or whatever, and then asked for the deduction, read through the code and answered it. So that got me thinking about a couple things, which is pretty fascinating. So number one is with the image. If it is indeed that you can take this image and actually, you know, hand draw it and convert it into a thing, then the question is, what else can you do with it? So here's my thought process. And again, I don't have the access to do this today, but the minute I can prove this, I will do it. So here's ChatGPT. I'm not going to go there yet. I'll just talk about the process that I have in mind. Two things that came to mind based on the demo. So number one is, this is a random YouTube video that I was watching. It had an ad on it. I clicked on the ad and it gave me this demo page, which is exactly what I wanted, right? So here's the scenario that I have in mind. I'm a salesperson. I'm trying to create landing pages for specific types of content, right? Because I actually have these use cases right now. So I have a tool here. It's called a go full page. And what it'll do, it'll capture a full page content of this entire page. So if ChatGPT is this advanced that it could actually read through text on a page and describe it in great detail, here's my question now, and this is what I don't have the answer to and what I'm going to try to prove in the next few videos going forward, is can I take this and send it into ChatGPT and ask it to describe this page? Number one, obviously it'll be able to do that, no problem. It's very straightforward for it to do based on the demo that I've seen. I haven't tried it, like I said. But number two is then ask it, give it a different version. So for example, my business is a construction software application, right, for field service, and then say, given the image that I've just given you, can you write me a landing page with similar format based on this landing page? So right, can I take this landing page and come up with a completely brand new landing page based on this? That's the first thing that came to my mind when they're suggesting that they could basically understand images. And then if you can do that, can you convert that to code based on the first image? That's a hard problem. That's a really, really hard problem to solve. I don't know if they can do it, but I'm definitely going to try to do it, and I'm going to try to give you my updates on this. But this is very, very fascinating to me. There's just a lot of sort of nuance here, right? Like how much context it is really remembering, because in the real, if you can actually look at a web page, come up with new content to replace that content, and then also write the code to match the image, now you got something. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to really spend some time to kind of dig into that. So this is just my raw thoughts around this process, and if it's possible, maybe somebody might be able to beat me to the idea by looking at this video and coming up with their own concept around it. So